What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we've got some brand spanking new Destiny 2 news courtesy of the Bungie weekly update that has just gone live, revealing official information. And so, let's get started. But just before we do, guys, Father's Day is coming up, and us Destiny dads need to put down the pulse rifles.
Whoa.
What?
That's so loud.
Oh, sorry, I'll put it away. Guys, Father's Day is coming up, and us Destiny dads need to put away.
What are you doing?
Listen, the Manscaped Handyman, it's so easy, it's so convenient, I can't help but get a little buzz on when I'm talking to you. And you know what? I think you guys might like it too. In fact, what are you getting your dad for Father's Day? You.
A mug?
A mug? Why don't you get him another tie? Get him something he's actually going to use from Manscaped, like the Handyman. Boasting 60 minutes of runtime, it's got dual blades, the foil and the trimmer. It's everything you need in a compact package. And another great gift is going to be the Weed Whacker 2.0, the perfect thing to combat that nose and ear hair. Listen, you're gonna tell me your dad doesn't have any nose and ear hair. You know how I know this is a good Father's Day present? Because the second we are done filming, I am putting this in a gift box and I'm sending it to your dad. Love the guy. Nose hair, out of control, okay? So guys, get your dad something they're actually going to use this Father's Day. Click the link in the description down below, and you're also going to save 20% and get free international shipping. Gamers, get on it. Alright, now first things first, what's been going on this week for Destiny 2? Well, quite a lot. On the Tuesday weekly reset, we had the return of the 0-hour exotic mission. It's going to reward the now craftable Outbreak Perfected exotic pulse rifle. And then you have the Legend difficulty version, which is an entirely different route. You have all these secrets within to earn even more upgrades for your Outbreak. So guys, check out my video on the Legend difficulty guide, all of the different secrets available this week, and it's also going to link to the original version guide if you need that as well. But a crazy amount of content there. And then on top of that, we also have a new version of Pantheon, the Raid Challenge activity. This time, you're fighting Rahulk, but you're actually fighting two Rahulks. Like, they straight up added another raid boss into this raid encounter, which is absolutely crazy. And of course, my guide on that is linked right up above as well. Now, another massive thing that happened this week is that yesterday, Bungie put out an article detailing all of the buffs and nerfs for weaponry coming within the final shape. So we have stuff like pulse rifles getting buffed to the moon, and we have some of the best weapons in the game, like the Forbearance grenade launcher, catching some pretty big nerfs. If you guys want to see all of those announced changes, again, check out my video on that linked right up above. Now, moving on from there, during this entire week, Bungie has actually been putting out little preview videos of upcoming final shape exotics. So they first put out 3 armor pieces, and now they've been putting out once per day exotic weapons, with the newest one just put out like a few minutes ago as of the time I'm recording. So let's take a look at these new final shape exotics. So first off, we have this new exotic Warlock chest piece, and what it does, as you can see here, is that arcane needles cause a suspending detonation. So in the gameplay, it appears that when all 3 of your melee needles hit a singular target, then you get essentially a suspending grenade effect all around that target. Now, suspending enemies is definitely a good thing. However, the reaction on social media has been a bit negative to this, people saying, well, all 3 of your needles for a suspending blast, like, this kind of seems underwhelming. I hope this exotic has some other effect. For example, if you get melee energy for killing suspended enemies, like, you could make a really good Warlock suspend build with this thing. But moving on from there, for the Hunters, they're also getting an exotic chest piece here, and this one does the effect where arc aspects create bouncing explosives. So in the gameplay, you're going to see when this Hunter uses like an ability that apparently is going to be from an aspect, like they start up their super here, they throw out these like mini arc grenades, right? And then earlier in the gameplay, you see that like arc uppercut being used, and again, these like 3 grenades shoot out. So if you're able to spawn these grenades easily for doing easily regeneratable abilities, and these like little arc mini bouncing projectiles do a decent amount of damage or have a decent effect, like this could be pretty good. Now, moving on from there, for the Titan, yet another exotic chess piece. This one is pretty wild. So as you can see right here, class ability fires Exodus rockets. So first of all, you had that arc dodge in the gameplay, and now you have the Titan just putting down a barricade and just spawning like mech rockets that go out and shoot at the nearest enemy, it would seem. Like, it does appear they have some sort of like tracking effect, even though they're going like straight forward, I would imagine they do. And it's enough damage to stagger this boss, but it's really hard to tell. Importantly, like, if these do anywhere near a decent amount of damage and have good tracking, this thing could be nuts in PvP. Like, just get free tracking rockets for using your class ability, especially with, as we saw in the gameplay, the dodge. Like, spawning rockets every time you dodge could be wild, guys. Now, moving on from there onto the weapons. First of all, the Kvostov 7G. It is returning, an iconic weapon, the first weapon you get in Destiny 1, and its new exotic effect this time around is that every 7th bullet ricochets. Now that sounds a bit underwhelming for sure, like, hey buddy, we already got ricochet rounds in the game, but you'll actually see from the gameplay that 7th round will bounce between all of these different taken Vex and kill all of them. So presumably, like, that 7th round, the damage is boosted quite a bit, enough to again one-shot a red bar, and it kills like, what, all 4 of these guys with one bounce? So it's almost like a Firefly explosion kind of effect, where once that 7th bullet triggers and hits an enemy, nearby enemies are cooked. But depending on how far that bullet ricochets, it could be actually pretty effective at ad clearing. So excited to see more about how that thing works in game. But moving on from there, the final new exotic that was teased again not too long ago today is actually going to be the Microcosm, and this is actually a heavy trace rifle. So you can see some gameplay here, and the effect is deals massive bonus damage to shields, I guess. And you're gonna see it just shoot a bunch of enemies. It seemingly does decent damage. I mean, I would imagine it does do decent damage. It is a heavy weapon after all. So obviously, this is kind of a big deal. If you are using trace rifles, if you are using, for example, the Cenotaph Mask, you now have access to a trace rifle in your heavy slot, right? And another interesting thing, and this could be absolute like conspiracy, red thread, tinfoil hat, but I was trying to look at what element this thing was. And if you look in the gameplay, I was originally like, oh, it's Strand, but it does not have a blue beam. In fact, it has a white beam. And the effect doing bonus damage to shields, where have we seen that before? Oh, on the Arbalest, a kinetic weapon. Guys, this could not just be the first heavy trace rifle in the entire game. Again, I'm not seeing a color of the beam that would indicate any sort of element. This could also be the first ever kinetic heavy weapon in the entire game. Now, I could be wrong, absolutely, but with Prismatic coming in the final shape and kinetic weapons providing a boost to both of your light energy and your darkness energy to get Transcendence, it would make sense that Bungie starts adding some kinetic heavies, because kinetics are going to be really good with Prismatic. So, hey, that could be crazy. But moving on from there, let's get into the brand new information within the TWAB. And first up, Bungie reveals weapon enhancement coming in the final shape. So they say during the Lightfall year, players have gotten a taste of weapon enhancement with the Raid Adept weapons from Root of Nightmares and Crota's End. In the final shape, you'll see that this system has undergone some upgrades, making enhancing your weapons easier and allowing us to comfortably expand this system to include more weapons. Here's a quick recap of how weapon enhancement will work alongside some of the changes. So they say weapon enhancement allows the weapon to be upgraded to receive enhanced traits, a weapon level, and a memento socket. To upgrade your weapon, players can navigate to the inspection screen and insert the enhancement tier mod for standard currencies. Raid Adept weapons will continue to use Spoils of Conquest. And you can see that right here with the Luna's Howl. And so the Brave Arsenal weapons, Bungie has said, are enhanceable. You can apply this tier 1 enhancement and get all of these different benefits. Specifically, for Enhancement Tier 1, it replaces your Masterwork and provides the weapon with an enhanced intrinsic that matches the state of your old Masterwork. It provides a weapon level, a date when you first enhanced the weapon, and a memento socket. And for Raid Adepts only, since these weapons have a base crafted version, we want the Adept versions to feel like a meaningful upgrade. Therefore, these weapons can visit the relic on Mars to adjust their first 2 columns, so typically barrels and magazines, in a similar fashion to how crafted weapons can augment these perk columns. So that's actually a big deal. It's going to make Masterwork raids a lot more valuable because now you only need like the god roll of the final 2 main perk columns, and then you can change the barrel and the magazine. That's really awesome. Then, that's just for Enhancement Tier 1. For Enhancement Tier 2, and this is for weapon level 11 or above, they say once the player inserts this mod, the left column's traits will automatically be upgraded to their enhanced perks. If you have multiple perks, this will upgrade all traits in the column. Players do not need to visit the relic on Mars to upgrade these traits anymore. Now, for Enhancement Tier 3, which is weapon level 17 requirement, once the player applies this mod, the right column weapon trait perks will automatically be updated to be enhanced. Like the left column, this will upgrade all of the traits present and does not require visiting the relic. And you can see right here, this is what a shiny Luna's Howl is going to look like when you enhance it all the way to Tier 3 in the final shape. And this is crazy. Like, you have 2 rows of enhanced perks. So, like, this is arguably better than what crafted weapons can achieve because you have double the enhanced perks, and then you have the flexibility to switch between your perks depending on the scenario. Remember, you lose no ammo when switching between perks, right? And especially for certain heavy weapons, like, that's actually quite meta to switch around the perks to get different advantages in a DPS phase, right? So this is pretty awesome. Now, Bungie says, we've heard the feedback that weapons should have more avenues to acquire enhanced traits. In the file shape, all new weapons will either be craftable or have access to weapon enhancement. In addition, weapons that remain active drops in the following activities will be eligible for enhancement. So, Vow of the Disciple Raid Adepts, Guardian Games, King's Fall, Raid Adepts, Gambit, Competitive Crucible, they say all of them, Trials of Osiris, Crucible, Iron Banner, Vanguard Ops, Nightfalls, and Prophecy Dungeon weapons. Bungie says this will include older instances of these weapons as long as they have an origin trait. Unfortunately, due to some technical constraints, there are a handful of weapon instances from before Season 17 that have origin traits and are active drops, but they will not be eligible for weapon enhancement. If a weapon is not actively dropping from these activities and playlists, or it's under the legacy focusing options, it will not be enhanceable when the final shape releases. If weapons are reissued and become part of a playlist's active drops once again, we will update the older versions to have origin traits to enter weapon enhancement. So, once again, us Vault Hoarders, the 600 out of 600 gamers, we are rewarded. If you've been hanging on to old, amazing Crucible weapons, Gambit weapons, etc., you can now enhance them in the final shape. And a lot of the time, that is the difference between those weapons being quite usable. Like, they've gotten replaced by crafted weapons that have enhanced traits, but now that you can enhance the original weapons or older weapons, like, that could really see a bit of a shift in the meta. Moving on from there, guys, Bungie talks about mementos in the final shape. So they say, we've received a lot of feedback on weapon mementos, especially as new mementos have released in our seasonal events. In the final shape, we have a few changes coming that impact how you store mementos and apply them to your weapons. So, crafted and enhanced weapons will no longer need to visit the relic on Mars to apply mementos. Players can apply the memento of their choosing directly in the weapon inspection screen. Then, memento stack cap limits raised from 1 to 3, and mementos will no longer be stored alongside the player's consumables. When the final shape launches, your mementos under consumables will show as faded. Then, once the faded memento is dismantled, you can see +1 memento added in the weapon inspection screen as a virtual currency. For players who figured out how to get around the original memento stack size limits, this will allow you to dismantle all of those mementos safely, even if you temporarily go over the intended stack limit of 3. If you are holding 3 or more of a particular memento, it will not drop again until you spend your mementos to be under the stack size limit of 3. Next up, they've reduced the fragment cost at Ikora in the final shape. So they say subclass fragments purchasable from Ikora are expensive, particularly considering how many there are, especially for new lights. And in the final shape, we've reduced the cost from 25,000 glimmer to 10,000 glimmer. Our goal here is to make all of these vital build crafting elements more accessible for new and returning players. And so guys, that's it for all of the important information revealed this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.